Welcome to week 10 of CSCI 1100. This week we will go over pivot tables and logic operators. First thing we're going to do is go over logic operators. So logical operators. First we have what's called Boolean logic. And that centers around equal to, greater than, less than, greater than, or equal to, less than or equal to, and not equal to. And what this means is, in Excel, we use these a lot to compare data of two different cells or more. And that's what this is. This is just a comparison between two values. All right. And in this one, you're just asking, are these two values equal? In this value, you're asking, is the A value greater than the B value? In this one, you're asking, is the A value less than the B value? In this one, you're asking, is the A value greater than or equal to the B value? Meaning A, that would return true if A is either greater than or equal to. Same thing here, except it's less than. Is the A value less than or equal to B? And then you have not, which is just two less than and greater than symbols together. Now I have a spreadsheet here that I'm going to show you some examples in. First example, just like we do with any other formula, we start out with equals. So equals A equals A2. No, so it returns false. Boolean expressions only return true or false. If I do an equals A1 equals parentheses B5 times 5. This is asking, is A1 equal to B5 times 5? Remember, we always do what's in parentheses first. And of course, the answer is no, it's not. So it returns false. We can even get more complex with A2 times 10 less than or equal to C3 divided by 5. This will be false because there's no way that 44 divided by 5 is, well, actually, I take that back. Let me think about that a minute. No, that is false because there's no way this would be less than or equal to this because this is 370. 370 will not be less than 44 divided by 5, and it will not be equal to 44 divided by 5. That's false. Now, if we wanted to return a true, we could do a B1 less than C3, and it will return true. We can also do a B5 not equal to A2. Because they're not equal, it returns true. Next, logical functions. These are your logical functions. And, or, XOR, or exclusive or, not an if. With and, both arguments must be true. Let me show you that. I'll do those over here so you can see. If I do, okay, and let me do an example here. To do an and, you do an equals and, parentheses, okay? And then I can do A1 greater than A2 comma, B1 less than B2 close parentheses. Now, what this is saying is if this statement and this statement are true, it will return true. If either one is false, it will return false. So let's think about this. Is A1 greater than A2? No, it is not. 15 is not greater than 37. Therefore, that is false. Therefore, this Boolean expression will return false. This is true, but both arguments have to be true for it to return true. Now, what I could do, let me show you this, is I could come up here and I could change this to 38. And now that goes to true. Why? Because now both arguments are true. And it will return true. And that's how AND works. When both of these arguments are true, AND will return true. Next one. OR. OR says, I will return true if one of the arguments or both of the arguments are true. All right? So if I take this and I return it to the original number, which was 15, okay, that becomes false. But if I pull that formula down, actually, if I do that formula as an OR, all right, what happens is I get A1 greater than A2, comma, B1 less than B2, all right? Now, this isn't true anymore because I returned that value to 15, so A1 is not greater than 37. However, this one is true. B1 is less than B2, therefore this will return true. So what it says, you only need one argument to return true, or both arguments. If both arguments are true, it will return true. All right? So false, so AND is both arguments have to be true to return true. Or it says you either need one to be true or both to be true to return true. We now have XOR, or exclusive OR, which is this, okay? An XOR will only return true if only one of the arguments is true. If both arguments are true, it will return false. And that's actually very useful in some instances where you're just looking for one true return. So if I do an X equals XOR, like so, and I use the same thing, okay, like this, all right, like so, and then B1 is less than B2, okay. This will return a true because the second argument is true. If they were both true, it would not. So keep in mind that the second argument is true. So it returns, wait a minute. That's right. This will return true only because the second argument is true. If they were both true, it would return false. So let me change this value to make the first part true. And let's see what changes. Keep an eye over here, okay? Aha. the XOR will change to false because both of these are now true. And if they're both true, XOR will return a false. And returns a true because both of these are now true. And will only return true if both are true. Or did not change because or will return a true if one or both are true. Okay? I know. I know this gets interesting. All right, not. All right. So not returns the reversed value of the argument. Meaning, if I do a not in here, and I go equals not, all right, A1, okay, and I go greater than A2, and I may have to change the values back. It will return a false. Why? Why did that return a false? This statement is true, right? Because A1 is greater than A2. Not returns the reverse, okay, of the value that's put out by the statement. So this statement would put out true, but not makes it false. All right. And I could go in and I could do this on a programmatic level. And and I'm not sure if that would be helpful or not. Last one is if. All right. And to really show you what if is, I gotta show you. I gotta type it in because so if, all right, A1 is greater than 100, comma, return 10. If not, return 0. All right. So this statement, this will return 10 if this is true. If not, it will return a 0. So this should return a 0 because A1 is not greater than 100, which it's not. Now I could do this a couple ways. I could come in and change that to less, and it would return 10 because A1 is less than 40. That's how if works. It is a choice. Okay, it allows us to create a choice path in our logic by using a Boolean expression. Okay. Now that I've rattled your brains around a little, all right, let me rattle them around a little more, okay, because I'm going to get rid of all this, and we're going to talk about pivot tables. Pivot tables are very helpful. Now, in your week 10, you will find a chapter on pivot tables. You will also find tables, pivot tables, okay? And you'll have an example here that you can work through, which is actually the example I'm going to go through. You download the sample data. So here's your new Excel sheet. I have already downloaded the sample data for the pivot table. Okay. What you do is you go to the Data tab. And under the Get and Transform group, there is from Text and CSV. And you click on that. And then you navigate to your sample data. Okay, import. Give it a second. All right, so here's your sample data. Now, everything here is okay. So just leave that. Transform data. Okay. Now that you're here, okay, you close and load. Because what this is going to do, close and load too, actually, is it's actually going to put it into this worksheet. And you want to click existing worksheet here. You just want the table. All right. All right. So we hit OK. And there you go. Now, in order to create a chart from this, we go to Insert. We come over to Pivot Chart. And we do Pivot Chart and Table. We do it on a new worksheet, which is fine. And there we go. Now we have to move some things around here first off in order for this to work. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to drag Market down into the filter. Okay. And then we're going to drag Store and Model. And let's see here, line of business. That'll work. And then we're going to, I think, we're going to come into Market. We're going to choose Tennessee, because that's what we want. We're going to come into line of business, and we're going to choose printer cells. All right. Then we pull balance data down here into the axis of what's called the rows group. And then we pull revenue into the values group. And this is what you get initially. Okay. Now, what you can do is you can come up, right click on a group here, hit group, and we'll take out quarters and we'll leave month and years, I think. And that's what that gives us. Now, if we pull years up into here, we get this. So what's the difference? Okay, so what is the difference? If I pull that back there, what do I get? What I've gotten here is a month by month combined table. So each of these months combines, okay, the revenue for that month for that year. Okay, so that's 2006, that's 2007. But that's a little clunky. So if we pull years up here, this puts both years into the same month. So orange is 2007, blue is 2006. And you have both those months of January for both those years here, and same thing on and on. Okay. Pivot tables are very useful in looking at getting a summary of a large amount of data. Let me show you this. This has, okay, 40,000 rows of data in here. I'm not kidding. There's 40,000 rows of data. And from that 40,000 rows of data, we were able to pull just Tennessee, the revenue, the years, and the months with that revenue, okay? Now, we could go further. We could do a particular store. Right now it's off. So let's hit one store and hit OK. And that store obviously did not make that much revenue. Okay. But, because apparently I'm guessing that's not in Tennessee. That's what I'm thinking. Let's try one down the bottom. Okay. So if we hit all again, we go back to that, right? But we could choose the stores. We could choose whatever we wanted. Okay. We could choose whatever we wanted to show in here. No problem. All right. And we could break it down into smaller and smaller data groups to get a more granular view. That's what pivot tables are for, to give you that more granular view. All right. Now we could change this chart. Okay, by coming up, by right-clicking in the chart, and choosing, let's see, where is it? I know it's here. Let's see. Change chart type. There we go. And I could come into line, and I could choose line with markers. I could use stacked with markers too, but I'm going to choose line with markers. There you go. Now, just like with the 3D pie and the column, we can style this and we can move it to another sheet. And then there's our chart. Now, we can come back over here and we can change this however we want, just like we were, and get whatever data we want out of it. All right. Okay, let me close this. And we are going, and I'm going to walk you through a couple things in Bob's Dice Shop. Okay, this is your homework. I won't do it all. I'll just do a little bit of it to help you guys out. That's what I'm going to do. So, come in here, and I'm opening up the instructions in the starting worksheet now so I can know what to do. There we go. There's the instructions. So, there we go. Okay. So the first part of this is it's explaining logical operators, okay, and or not as well. A quick reference guide, logical functions in Excel. And then here's the instructions. So the first instruction is, using the above functions, write a formula in the cell to the right of each proposition, G12 to G21. That will evaluate the proposition to true or false. Do not answer true or false. You must write a formula that returns the correct answer. No credit will be given for manually evaluating the statement and typing true or false. So let me pop up the worksheet, and that's what we'll do. All right. So instructions said G12 to G21, which is here. All right. We have to put a statement in there, a Boolean statement, to evaluate this proposition, whether it's true or false. So let me get in here a little closer. So if quarter one sales, if quarter one total sales equal quarter four sales, all right? So we have our total sales down here. And when you look at this, you got to think in terms of what it's saying. So quarter one total sales equals, okay, quarter four total sales. Now, this is going to be false, but it will evaluate whether that statement is true or false, and it is false. All right? Let me do one more here on this. So more than $100 of either D6 or D12 in quarter one. Okay, so here's D6, here's D12. What we would use here is an equals or proposition. And we would say, okay, is D6 greater than 100, okay? Or is D12 greater than 100? That will return true because one of those is true. And there you go. And that's how you do those. All right. Now, the second thing it asks us to do is Bob receives a bonus of $50. Okay. So Bob receives a bonus of $50. And let me pop this back up again so you can see it. Sorry, I was sidetracked. Bob receives a bonus of $50 from the D20 manufacturer. So the D20 manufacturer is this one. It's this line right here. Each time his sales exceed $500 in a quarter. All right, so every time his sales exceed $500, he gets a $50 bonus. Write a conditional if in cell B11, okay, which is right here, that will display 50 if the D20 sales are greater than $500 and zero otherwise. Now, we would do this through C11 through E11. So equals if, okay, and what we're asking is this greater than 100, comma, okay, if it is, it returns 50. Wait a minute, let's see. Yeah, we'll display 50. If not, it displays 0. So this should display 0 because that's, oh no. Oh wait, not 100, 500. Sorry. That should be, yeah, 500. So it should display 0, which it does. However, if we take our fill handle and pull it across, you will see we have two 50s here. All right. Third, Bob needs to order extra of any type of dice. All right. Type of dice that sold more than 650 for the year. Write a conditional statement in cell G4 that displays reorder. If the sales were more than 650, and hold if the sales were 650 or less. All right. So we start in G4, and again, this is an if statement. So equals if this, okay, is greater than 650, then display. And the reason I'm using parentheses is because I'm doing text, not a number, that if not, hold. Okay? Now this should say reorder, and it does. We pull this down, and there we go. So this is done, this is done. So steps 2 and 3 are completely done. I did a couple in step 1 for you, so that you wouldn't know what to do. Let me do a couple more here. So quarter 3 total cells are at least as much as quarter 2 total cells. So we have an equals, okay? And quarter 3 cells, which is this one, are at least as much, okay, as quarter 2 cells, which means they are greater than or equal to quarter 2 cells. All right. And this should be true, and it is. Quarter 2 and quarter 3 total cells are greater than 1,000. Okay, so this should be equals, and, okay, so quarter 2 is greater than 1,000, comma, quarter 3 is greater than 1,000. Now, what has to happen here is these both have to be true to return a true. Okay? And it does return a true. We sold more than 100 of either D6 or D20 in quarter 1. So that's an equals or proposition. All right, let me think. We sold more than 100 of either D6 or D20 in quarter 1, but not both. Okay. My bad. That is actually an XOR. Because only one can be true, but not both. Okay? So, let's see. We sold more. Nuts. Wait a second. Let me look at this a minute. No, I did that right. Thank you very much. Okay. Equals XOR. Even the best of us get a little you know what. Okay. So, we use an XOR and we say D6, which is that in quarter 1, is greater than 100. Okay. And D20 is greater than 100. Now, this will be false. Why will it be false? Because XOR will only return true if one of these is true. Okay? So this will be false. Quarter 1 D4 cells are greater than quarter 1 D20 cells. Okay? So that's a simple equals D4 greater than D20. And that's false too. You can look at a lot of these and know what the answer is going to be. Just by, a little logic. All right, 18. We did not sell the same amount of D4 in quarters 1 and 2. So equals D4 in quarter 1. Is that equal to, let's see. We did not sell the same amount of D4 in quarters 1 and 2. Yes. Equal to that. And this will be false because, let me think about this a minute. Actually, okay, wait a minute. Thing is we want that to return true. So we're going to use a not because the not will give us the opposite. All right? So D4 equal to D4 in quarter 2. All right. And this will return true, because it is true. We did not sell the same amount of stuff in those 2 quarters. Okay. Quarter 3 total sales are the same or less than quarter 2. Okay, so quarter 3 total sales. So if we do this, and this is quarter 3 total sales, are less than or equal to quarter 2 total sales. And the problem here, wait a minute, is that I can't see what the values are because you're a hashtag. It says it's false. Let me come in here a minute. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's take a look at this again. So is this less than or equal to this? Yes. What? Oh no. Is this, right, yeah, is this less than or equal to this, which is false. So that's okay. Quarter 1 total sales are less than quarter 4 total sales. So equals quarter 1 less than quarter 4. Now, is this less than this? Yes. So that is true. Last one. We'll just put an equals in there for the start. Quarter 2 total sales are greater than quarter 1 and less than quarter 3. So equals, well, I already did the equals, sorry. And, okay, notice how it says and in here, right? A lot of times the wording will give you a clue. So quarter 2 total sales are greater than quarter 1. All right. That's the first argument. And then quarter 2 total sales are less than quarter 3. And then we do this. Now think about this a minute. So is C10 greater than B10? Yes. Is C10 less than D10? Yes. Both of those are true, and hand requires both arguments to be true, so this will return true. Now, there is your homework. Okay, the basic part of it done. Now, there is an extra credit to it. I'm not going to show you how to do the extra credit. All right? I will read it to you. Use conditional logic to create a conditional formatting rule that will color every other row light green. All right? So say this, the usual way you do, right? And then drop it in the appropriate drop box, and you'll be fine, okay? So that's how you do Bob's Dice Shop. So let me come down here, and I'll get this up, okay? So this is week 10. We went through the table, the pivot table, okay? I worked through the Bob's Dice Shop for you. You also have a quiz to take. Make sure you do that and do your discussion for the week, and you'll be fine, okay? I'm going to stop the share.